Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, visionaries, and welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck-building visionary, or just like having a bit of fun, we can help you buff your game and achieve your Hearthstone goals. Welcome to episode 196, a Whizbang of a Budget. I am Grant Gould, your first host that you hear from most shows. But joining me, the more important host, joining me from across the North American continent, is your friend and mine, Eve Martin. How you doing tonight, Eve?
I don't know if I would agree with that description, but I'm doing great. It's a little bit hot here, but other than that, I'm so excited. People might have noticed that I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone. Like, if I'm on your friends list, you might have been like, oh, Eve's on, like, every single day for multiple hours a day, and that's a big change, So
why is that, Eve? Why have you been playing so much Hearthstone lately?
Because it's been fun, and not only that, I have literally 3 decks that I like and are decent on the ladder, and that's like never happened before.
That is very unusual for you, because whereas I will typically play like just kind of everything just to kind of get a feel for it and be able to talk about it. Like, you kind of play what you like, and if you don't like it, you just don't play it.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes. And like, okay, so here's what happened. I was overwhelmed the first week, right? Didn't know what to play, didn't know what to do. So I just queued up Whizbang. I was like, I'm going to see how good these new decks that they made for Whizbang are. Because a lot of the times, the people who made all of the cards have an idea of what decks will be good. And then I'd probably just see what felt a little clunky and tweak it. Like, make the deck in my own collection eventually, and then just tweak it and play it. And the very first thing Whizbang queued up for me was Quest Shaman.
So you stomped your opponent then, basically,
Yes!
right?
Which obviously felt really good. So that was a good start. But then I was just like, okay, let's try. What was it? It was Murloc Paladin with Prism. Like the thing where they switch the cost of a spell and a minion and then pull out all your Murlocs from your deck.
Yeah.
And that
I
was
played
super
something like
fun.
that.
And I was like, oh, the fun just keeps on happening. And then I played another one, and it was Paladin with, the Paladin Quest Paladin.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
So those 3 decks, and to be honest with you, I haven't tried any other, because 3 is already enough for me to wrap my head around and get to learn and play and have fun with. So I actually haven't played any of the other ones. I don't know what other ones are out there, but I went from 15 to 8, so I'm rank 8 right now.
You think you're higher than I am on standard, because I've been toying around with stuff. So they said that Blizzard was kind of looking to make the game less combo based and more board centric. Do you think that they kind of achieved that with the current meta as it stands, or with at least the stuff that's new that's come out?
All of the decks that I've been playing feel like that, but there's still a couple out there that are combo, and those are the ones that people feel really cheaty, like feel really bad to lose against and kind of overwhelming and are kind of calling for a change. So there's still a couple out there, but yeah, definitely the ones that I've been playing and playing against really feel like drop a minion, you play a spell, and it's like interactive back and forth, and the quests are really good. Like, I feel Paladin quest is really good, and Shaman quest is really good. Druid is like decent. It doesn't do well against the decks that I'm playing, but I assume that it has good decks that it plays well against.
Yeah. I think Shaman's actually too good. to be honest. In terms of, well,
I can
I
beat it
say
with
that
Paladin.
right. Well, I think because you can outvalue it a little bit because the reborn mechanic is pretty strong. I agree with you. I could beat it with Paladin, especially if I got a decent draw. The thing about the Shaman Quest that concerns me is how easily they can get it off. They can get it off in turn 4 with a bunch of lackeys that don't really eat up their hand too much. And then they can just start spiraling out of control with battle cries. And I think it's just next to I still think Conjurer's Mage is probably the best deck. But next to that, I think Quest Shaman is a tier 1 deck.
Well, here's what I posted on Twitter is that I love playing these decks because they feel super strong. They feel like you're afraid they're going to get nerfed because they're so good. But they have counters.
Yeah,
they have
do.
decks that they get dumpstered by. So there is this feeling of power when you play that makes you excited and makes you happy and want to play. But also it's not so out of control that there's nothing anybody can do against you because there's definite decks that you suck against. Which is
right.
I think that's the healthiest way Hearthstone can be, is that you have a feeling of agency and power and fun. And there are some decks that you just steamroll, and as soon as they see you, they concede. Like when I'm playing Paladin, Quest Paladin, and I see a Hunter, 9 times out of 10, they just see me and concede. Which is why I meteoric rise from 15 to 8. Hunters saw me and were just like, okay, never mind, I'm out.
Deuces.
But, Warlock? Warlock just destroys me. Priest, with their multiple silence and their plague of death, silence and kill everything, is just I'm just getting rid of all of your stuff and nothing's coming back. There are definite strong decks out there that people are playing and are good against other decks that destroy me. So I feel like it's not too strong because it has counters.
I could see that. I've experienced that even. I've been playing more Wild this week because I'm only 19 wins away from my Golden Warrior, and I can forget about playing Warrior for a while, except to have fun. Never again. No, I said that about Priest, but I still play Priest. But I've been playing a Taunt Warrior that our good buddy Nate Wolf told me about, and I modified it because I thought it didn't have enough late game. So I just substituted Siamet and Lich King and some Tomb Wardens. Siamet's a good card because you put Siamet, you put Wind Fury plus Divine Shield on it, and it's like, oh, I better deal with that, or I'm gonna get hit in the dome for 12 or more. So Siamet, I like him in that deck. He's just a good curve drop for that deck. But Taunt Warrior is improved probably less by that and more by the Frightened Flunky, or basically Shaggy Taunt, because that card is a very fair 2-drop taunt that does the same thing as Stonehill Defender. So Shaggy on 2, Turtle on 3, and you have refill in your hand, and you have it seems like very awesomely mid-range, and therefore, and because it's taunt, it can dumpster Paladin. Because you have your board clears, you throw in Warpath and you throw in your Blood Razors, and Paladin can't hold up to you unless you just get a bad draw with all spells and weapons. So
yeah, Warrior's got a lot of removal. I have been able to beat Warrior, but it's definitely kind of 50-50. Do you still have Boom in that deck?
Oh yeah. Well, no, not that one. The one I've been playing hasn't. It's too mid-rangey. Boom is fine in it, but I'm not worried about playing the long game where Boom could really pay off. I'd rather have a minion that somebody has to deal with. But I don't. I played Control Warrior too in Standard a few games, and I like it better actually because it's a little bit more board centric, so it wasn't as painful to play. But with Warrior, if you get against like an aggro deck, you can just dominate them as long as you don't draw poorly, and that's cool because you're like, haha, I'm just sitting back controlling you, and you can't do anything to me. But if you get against a deck that has a lot of that plays the long game with you and can get some big, tall, fatty minions, it gets really rough, really fast. So, I'm kind of sad to say that I'm not as sure Druid is as good as I wish it was. I really, really like Quest Druid a lot. It's my favorite deck to play. But I'm trying to decide if it's good in either Wild or standard.
Well, you definitely have
So-
more like choose one cards in Wild.
Well, and in Wild, the thing about it is Big Priest dumpsters a lot of the new decks. Like
Yeah,
Big Priest,
that's-
I played a lot of Big Priest, and I probably lost 90+% of the games against Big Priest. And to be fair, they almost, if they can get Barnes on 4, or if they can get Shadow Essenced, is that the card? The one that's the 6-drop that summons something and pulls something out of your hand. If they have that, either of those, and then they can respawn
it's
anything.
Discover.
It's,
I think it's discover something in your deck, isn't it? Or just no, summon a minion from your deck and make it a 5/5.
yeah.
Or copy.
Yeah.
Copy a minion
It
in your
just
deck and make it a
pulls it
5/5.
out of your deck. But either way, the thing is I'm on that bandwagon where Big Priest cards, like a lot. But the problem is a lot of Priest cards need to get nerfed, and I don't know that in order to eliminate an archetype that they want to get rid of it, because that's a basic fundamental way to play a lot of that deck. Like, it has like 6 cards in it that really just contribute to not fun games. Because if you're playing a late game kind of deck that goes long, you lose. You know what I mean? Unless it's maybe Jade Druid. Jade Druid can probably compete with it if they don't kill you first.
Well, Priest
So-
has a bunch of new ways to play in this new expansion, so maybe that'll give them they have other things that they can do. They have other things that they can play now, and we can take a look at it in Wild. Because you remember how, like, Rogue was so strong and they nerfed it, and then all of a sudden all these other decks were appearing because Rogue had just, like, destroyed them and made them not playable. But then when it was nerfed down, it was like they were allowed to flourish and grow. That's what Wild sounds like. Is like people won't even try these new things because if it doesn't do well against Priest, then it's not worth playing.
Yeah, I could see that. That's the thing is, like, Taunt Warrior does really well against board-centric stuff. It does fine against, like, faster hunter decks. It does fine against Paladin. It does fine against... It actually doesn't... It's not awful against, like, Shaman decks. You know, you can win those games if you don't draw terribly.
Mhm.
But, like, against Big Priest, it's almost an auto loss, which feels super bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You do have to have your counters, but let's get back to... Do you have any news to say before I start talking about the main topic?
News. Other than that, Hearthstone is really fun, and glad to have you back. And
We had a good tenting.
huh? You had
We
a
had
good
a good
tenting?
tenting. We tented. We
Where
went
did
camping.
did you actually go out in the wilderness, or did you just tent your backyard?
Oh no, we went out there. We have a park that was like 45 minutes away. It's like a big camping area with each site has a picnic table and a fire pit, and then there's a lake nearby, and there's like lots of forest and lots of green grass. So it's not all like... I've been to camping sites before where it's like all dirt and rocks and sand, and it's just like super hot and dirty. But there were like trees and grass and water, so it wasn't...
Yeah.
We didn't all come back like covered head to foot in dirt. So yeah, the kids, it was the first time they've ever done that. I did it when they were little, but they don't remember. So they
Yeah.
were just thrilled, sleeping outside in a tent and eating s'mores, and they loved it.
We call it we used to call it roughing it. Was that what
Yep.
you guys call it when
Yep.
you're going on roughing it?
Call it roughing it.
Uh,
Yes.
last time we went roughing it, my mom and dad had decided to go rough it up in like in the wilderness of California. But we're not talking water thing. We're talking like there's nothing there. And I was a kid, and I guess I got caught on fire and had my eyebrows burned off. But that's the last time I went roughing it camping. So it was one of those things that mom turns around to go do something one time,
Yep.
then comes back and why are Grant's eyebrows gone?
You just looked permanently surprised for a whole month.
Pretty much. So,
Oh.
all right. Well, enough about camping stories. But so everybody was safe. Everybody was happy, healthy, no throwing up and stuff. No getting
Yes.
sick out in the woods. Okay.
Yeah, no. They
Because
were
that
all
also
good.
happened too. I forgot about that part.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to like divulge it. Hey, everybody, Eve's out in the wilderness camping. I kind of was a little cryptic last show. But since you said it, we can say that's by the BT dubs, everybody, in case you hadn't figured it out, Eve went camping out in the woods.
Yes, my husband's idea of camping is renting a cabin. So I was like, yeah, we can maybe do that next. But my idea of camping is getting a tent and some sleeping bags. And that's how you do it. That's how you camp. Otherwise, like getting a little house that's not camping.
What's the temperature like up in Canada at night this time of year?
34.
Oh, I was thinking 50s, 60s, maybe.
But
34?
this is like Celsius.
Oh, 34 Celsius. Duh. I see what you did there. I was like, man, what? So what's 30? That's got to be pretty warm. That's pretty warm, right?
34 Celsius to Fahrenheit is 93.2.
Oh, dang. That's like it is down here. Ew.
Yeah.
Except it's probably not humid. It's probably dry, right?
Right. Where I
Yeah.
live anyway, like different parts of Canada obviously are different, but where I live, it's like arid desert. So it's very dry. Yeah.
Oh, that would be nice. That wouldn't be so bad.
And at nighttime, you get a bit of a breeze because you're right on the lake. So that's not bad.
All right, let's get into Les Show, shall we? So, Eve had kind of alluded to it earlier, but she was talking about how one of the great ways to play Hearthstone, especially when a new set comes out, if you have Whizbang and you kind of just want to figure out what's out there, what's fun, what's cool, without diving in and doing what I do and just craft all the cards, even if you know you're going to regret half of it later, is going through Whizbang. It gives you sort of I guess you could say it's a legitimate test drive to see what cards work well and which ones don't. And Eve, what were you saying? You kind of were telling me a story earlier about your husband getting back into Hearthstone.
Yeah, he was listening to me
Whizbang.
just kind of go on and having so much fun playing the games. And he's like, you know what? I think I'll try and get back into it. I want to learn it. I want to be able to like make decks and talk with you about it. So what should I do? And I was like, craft Whizbang. He was like, what? I'm like, okay, just take anything out of your dust that you possibly can. Like go through any of your collection and dust anything, like maybe wild. You're probably not going to get into wild for a while because you're a brand new player. So just anything you can possibly get rid of, dust until you have enough to craft Whizbang. And then you have, what is it, 19 decks?
Is it that many?
It's 2 for every class. And there's 9 classes, so that's 18
Well,
decks.
it'd be 18 decks, but that's a lot. Whew, that's a lot of decks.
18 decks. So you have access to all these legendaries, and they're getting better and better at making these deck recipes because we all laughed at them when they first started making them. They were not that great.
Sure.
But like I said, like right off the top, I was playing practically tier Shaman Quest. And there are a couple cards in there that I immediately was like, this doesn't work very well, and took them out and put different ones in that I was seeing people experiment with different battle cries and stuff like that to make it more, but really good still, like right out of the gate. So I think the downside of playing Whizbang is obviously you don't have any control over what he's going to put before you next, but they have already found out obviously which decks he has, and they're on the internet and you can take a look at them. We have them here in our show notes, so you get to learn them, you know which ones they are, so when it queues up and you see the first couple cards in your hand, you're like, okay, this is the deck I'm playing, this is my strategy, and you have, a chance. You get to know all of the cards, you get to play all the legendaries that you probably don't own yet, especially if you're a new budget player, you're probably not going to be able to craft, and there's like a ton of legendaries in these decks. And epics.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like the average dust cost is it's probably looking like around 6,000 dust per. Yeah, easily. Lucent like this first deck I'm looking at is a druid deck, and they title it Nature's Restoration. Druid Oldham deck recipe, right? And it's kind of subtitled Restore life to enable powerful effects from your minions. Resurrect and duplicate lucent bark to create an impenetrable defense. Well, there were lucent bark decks last expansion, and people just thought they were too slow. But for somebody who's just starting to play, that would feel just really fun. You know what I mean?
It has Keeper Steladris in it. Legendary right
there. So
there.
there's one.
Dreamway Guardians. Are those rares?
Those are rares.
Bees. Libidinous Floop. Crystal Stag, I think, is an epic.
That's another legendary. Crystal
Ancient
Stags
of
are
Lore,
epic, yeah.
Lucent
Ancient
Bark.
of Lores are epic.
Ziliax, Countess Ashmore.
Yeah, I mean, Faceless Manipulators are epic. There's a lot of dust represented here. So if you queued this up, like a newish player, to get that much dust is difficult. In fact, I had an experience like that this week when I was Lizzie, my oldest daughter, was like, Dad, I want to play some Hearthstone. I said, really? And she goes, yeah, I just really want to play. I'm okay. So I logged in, let her get her free stuff. And I said, hey, she's like, can I play against you? I'm like, sure, you can just borrow all my decks. And so she borrowed my Quest Druid deck and was like, I have to have this deck. Can we make this deck, please, 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 please? And I'm like, all right, well, let's see if we can what we can do. So we went through her collection and dusted a bunch of stuff that she just wasn't gonna. She either wouldn't care about, or I wasn't, or wouldn't be able to like use anyways, even if she could care about it. And we crafted her most of a Quest Druid deck because it's actually reasonably priced. You can play it almost close to exactly what the lists are out, and she had a blast. And very accessible, easy to understand. For a 10-year-old. So this is pretty easy to understand. Heal yourself, get Lucent Bark out, and beat people. Overflow, draw cards. Yeah.
And you don't have that feeling of, oh, the reason I'm losing is because I don't have a million legendaries. Look at that guy just played
Right.
a million legendaries against me and I don't have all of these
Right.
cards, which is, a new player or a budget player. You definitely have that feeling. I wanted to make this cool Paladin deck that somebody shared on Twitter and went into my collection and was like, you don't have these epics, these legendaries, and did not have the dust to craft them. It was just like, oh, okay, I guess I won't be playing that for a while. That feeling, and to have 18 deck recipes that are all like really competitive.
Yeah. Did any of these recipes stick out to you? I mean, we could just tick them all off. Maybe we should just let's go through them by kind of like by title and like maybe talk about some of the highlights.
Yeah, so one I don't have in the show notes, but I found it on Out of Cards, is the new Shaman Quest one. The very first one that I started out with when I queued up Whizbang. It's called Corrupt the Waters, and it has the quest, Corrupt the Waters, play 6 Battlecry cards and get Heart of Vernal. 2 Questing Explorers, which is just in every quest-centric deck. It's just a super, super good card. A little dead after you're done the quest, but really, drawing a card and having a 2/2/3. 2 Farsights, which I might have eventually taken out. Hex, Witchwood Piper, which I took out. Stormbringer, transform your minions into random legendary minions. So that right there is a legendary. Geppetto Joybuzz, legendary. Barista Lynchin, Siamat, Shutterwalk, Swamp Queen Hagatha, all legendaries. And then Witch's Brew, which is an epic.
That's interesting. So that's like the Shutterwalk version of that deck.
Yes, but I eventually took out Shutterwalk because there's a lot of battle cries that are not good for you. He actually, in my opinion, doesn't work well in this deck because there's a lot of things that your lackeys do that are like deal 3 damage and different things like that, and it can go to you and your own minions. So I eventually took him out because he's not as good, and there were a couple things that I put in. That epic one that costs less, it has rush, and it costs less for each minion on the board.
Yeah, that card's good.
Put
I can't remember
those
what it's called,
in.
though. It's like
Because I was playing against other shamans and paying very close attention to what they played against me because I was like, I wonder if they have some techs in there that are better than what I thought of. And so, yeah, after I played it a couple of times, I made the deck and I tweaked a bunch of things. But like right out of the gate, it was super fun. Geppetto Joybuzz.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, some of the most that's an interesting idea though, because some of the most competitive decks, like the really good ones, are actually not very fun or entertaining to play. You know what I mean? They don't do kind of goofy things or interesting things, or not in a sort of obviously interesting way. And Geppetto Joybuzz, you drop them and balloons come up, and then he pulls stuff out of your hand and it's cheap, which can do other cool things.
Well, and the thing is that I think these decks are made like half and half to be competitive and to have good synergies, but also to have fun. So that's how I think the devs made all of these different decks. They do have a part of them that is like, if you get a bunch of minions out and just use Stormbringer, you could get a whole bunch of like super overpowered minions on turn 6 and just win the game right there. You could just like have a whole bunch of lackeys and even totems out and Stormbringer, and it's just like, what did I get the other day that was ridiculous? Illidan. And my hunter opponent was like what?
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, pretty much. That was the emote right there.
Is the card you were thinking of is the Mogu Flesh Shaper, 7 cost 3/4 minion that has rush, costs 1 less for each minion on the battlefield?
Yes.
Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah. Put 2 of those in. He's really good. Works well. He doesn't have a battle cry, which, sometimes you just want all the battle cries in order to
But he's a tempo card.
Yes. And removal when you're trying to keep pace with everything else that's super aggro out there. So So that's one. Do you want to take a look at one of the other recipes? I
was looking at some of the Hunter stuff, because Hunter is typically very good for budget in general. Mm-hmm. This particular Hunter deck I'm looking at, it's Seal the Vault, so it's got the quest, right? It says, summon a swarm of beasts with an aggressive quest deck. With an empowered hero power, your opponent won't be able to survive the assault. So it's got 2 Shimmerflies, 2 Spring Paws, 2 Timberwolves, Unseal the Vault. Could easily be the most expensive card in the whole deck.
Halazi the Lynx is the one other legendary.
Halazi, Halazi's cool. I have Halazi, but he's always felt very underwhelming because he can do stuff, but he's just not as powerful as I think he could be. Hedge Clan Hog Steeds, which are great. Revenge of the Wild, Scavenging Hyenas ×2, Vicious Scale High ×2, Animal Companion ×2, Desert Spear twice, Master's Call twice, Unleash the Hounds twice, Dire Frenzy once, Mark Shot once, Halazi, Tundra Rhino 1, Savannah Highmane 1, Swarm of Locust 1. So it's a swarm deck.
Have you?
It's a swarm deck.
Tried that one? Summon 7 1/1 Locust with Rush.
Yeah, it's basically Unleash the Hounds light, except for you get 7 no matter what you do. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's super cheap. And the thing is if you played that and you thought, dang, I really like this deck, this is fun, you could make this deck for virtually no dust. This is an incredibly budget deck. And there are certainly things you could do, easy, obvious subs, like, well, maybe I have 1 Swarm of Locusts and I have 2 Highmanes, bada boom, or I have 1 Highmane and 2 Tundra Rhinos. There's lots of things you could do to mix and match.
What's that new one that brings out the hyenas?
Oh, the 2/2 hyenas? Yeah, I would put that in this deck instead.
Yeah.
Well, if you're running secrets, though, you got to be running secrets or it's just not useful at all.
Oh, that's right. So maybe that's the mix and match that I was wondering. A guy I played against me, though, with all of the rush, Scavenging Hyena gets super scary.
Yes.
Like Spring Paw and then Scavenging Hyena, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you don't have any removal, which, sad to say, there's no removal in the Paladin Quest deck at all.
Nope.
You pretty much rely on your minions to remove anything. They have, no spells.
There was some, not entirely true. There were some lists out that were running Shrink Ray plus Consecrate. So it was like a 9 cost clear. Mm-hmm. Or if they got, I think it was meant to tech against Conjurer's Mage. Just like, oh, I see you have, you didn't know I had this in my hands and you overcommitted your giants or whatever you get to the board and now they're all 1/1s. Have fun. Of course, then if they had an extra Conjurers, then you're screwed. But if you could do it on turn 9, you're in good shape.
It might be the way that I eventually have to go, but right now I do play you commit to your game plan completely. Mm-hmm. And that kind of dilutes being able to pull enough, what are they called? Reborn cards in order to get the quest as fast as you possibly can. So that's, there's a lot of these really minion heavy decks, especially the Paladin Murloc one. Because you don't want to pull anything else with that prismatic except for your Murloc spell.
Yeah, the big Murloc spell, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no other spells in that deck.
Yeah.
They don't have Consecrate. They don't have... when you're playing against them, at least in your head, you can go, well, if I can do this, there's no way they're going to be able to stop me. because they're overcommitted to the whole Murloc theme. And if they get it fast, yeah, they might mow me down, but they don't have Consecrate. They don't have Shrink. They don't have any of those things. So, the other one is Mech Hunter. The other, because there's 2 of every class.
Sure.
And they've got Oblivitron, Zul'jin, Snip Snap, Ziliax, 9 Lives, Necromechanic. Like, that's a very mech.
Yeah, it's expensive. Some of that's expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like not. I mean, the interesting thing about that deck is good mech hunters have been around, and that ain't it. You know what I mean? So it's again, they're not always, because wasn't it a while back where Whizbang decks pretty much mirrored like the ladder exactly? Like they actually had decks that were pretty much copy paste the best decks that were running around on the ladder at the time. Once they'd gotten refined.
This is what I think. You have one deck from the newest expansion, and you have one deck from the last expansion.
Yeah.
So this is from the last expansion. This one with like all of the mechs and
I guess it kind of is in a lot of ways. There's a lot of similarities. Although this was easily I think a tier 2 deck at the time.
I think it's very competitive still. It doesn't do well against me, but it does well against a lot of other decks out there.
So speaking of decks that do well or better than I thought they would, and I experienced this today in a sort of kind of disbelief moment, is sort of a standard Reno style deck, or I'm going to call it a Highlander deck because, you know, the original Reno Jackson that heals you up is not around. But it's a one of everything. It says Reno Jackson has made some interesting discoveries in Oldham. Take advantage of his latest find and obliterate your opponent's board. Okay.
Is that mage?
It's a mage deck. It's a Ray of Frost, Acidic Swamp Booze, Doomsayer, Frostbolt, Zephyrus the Great, Acolyte of Pain, Arcane Intellect, Flame Ward, Frost Nova, Messenger Raven, Mind Control Tech, Voodoo Doll, Fireball, Polymorph, Sandbinder, Spellbreaker, Water Elemental, Barista Lynchen, Dragon Moss, Scorcher, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, Rotten Apple Bomb. Just pushed the button the wrong way again. And
Ziliax?
We're back. Yeah. Ziliax, of course. Ziliax, Blizzard 1, Kartut Defender, which is the turtle, right? Mossy Horror, Reno the Relic.
This one's Taunt Reborn, Death Rattle, Restore 3 health to your hero.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, too. That's like 6 cost one. Yeah, that's right. Hexlord, Malacrast, Calic Ghost, Reno the Relicologist, Flamestrike. By the way, now that I think about it, that's the exact list I played today, and I got dumpstered by it. I was playing Control Warrior, and I thought I was in good shape, and the person I played against was just really good at it. I was like, oh, this is easy. I got this. And I just played my real slow game, and he could deal with everything. So I thought, and I had to step back and go, First of all, the first takeaway was Reno the Relicologist is actually pretty good for just, if you think of it like as a removal card.
Yeah.
It's good. Like if it, as a removal card, it's fine. Hexlord Malacrast kind of shown well. Luna's Pocket Galaxy early in this deck is great. The only thing that I think is missing from this list that I saw was Uncle Tony, because that's what beat me. That's what it was.
This one has Hexlord Malacrast in it, which I think you could sub out for Tony.
He had both. He had both Hexlord and Uncle Tony in it.
Oh my gosh!
So this list is really expensive. The more I think about it,
you know what I found scary in mages is Calicos.
Yeah, Caligos is rough.
I get Pyroblasted in the face, one with a 0 mana Pyroblast, and then the regular cost Pyroblast. I've had that happen to me multiple times, and it's just like,
Yeah. I'm surprised that this deck can even function on the ladder. I think maybe the one I saw was almost the same as this. It definitely had 1 Conjurers in it, and it definitely had. Because he basically played Caligos, and I couldn't deal with it at the time. And then he played Conjurers on it. And then he got just some big, dumb minions that I couldn't deal with because I'd used my removal for other things. But it has potential. It's a deck that you probably, no new player, no even player that's been playing for a little while is going to be able to craft, because a lot of these cards are not the kind of cards you're going to craft. You know, they're not top picks, but still very fun. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna actually want to play. I'm gonna try and look for a list like this soon. See if I can play because I don't have the Reno quest. That's the only thing. I don't have the Reno Jackson quest, but I do have the Reno Jackson Relicologist. So we'll see.
Zephyrus the Great is something that has been a little infuriating, but I've also played it myself
Mm-hmm.
and thought, well, I have fun with it when I play with it.
Mm-hmm.
But, just like not having to put a bunch of tech into your deck. That's basically what it is. You don't have to put a bunch of tech into your deck because if you play Zephyrus, it will give you the tech that you need in that situation.
Yep, pretty much. I find it interesting that they're not this other mage deck. It has 2 elemental evocation, 2 arcane missiles, 2 magic tricks, 2 ray of frost, 2 shooting star, 2 frostbolt, 2 magic dart frogs, 2 mana cyclones, 2 sorcerer's apprentice, 2 arcane intellects, 2 dune sculptors, 2 stargazer luna, 2 cosmic anomalies, 2 fireballs, archmage antonidas, blood mage thalnos, and spell zerker. I find it interesting they don't just throw giants in there and put some Conjurer's Calling because that's almost what Cyclone Mage is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they didn't just make it Cyclone. Even they put it in the title. It says the Mage's Dalaran.
Maybe we can read into that.
Spells. Huh?
Maybe we can read into that.
I wonder if they're going to Hall of Fame Mountain Giants.
Because they wouldn't want to make a deck list that they knew was not going to be valid for a certain amount of time because they were going to have to take out the giants.
It could easily be,
Or they just don't want to encourage that kind of play style because people are so much frustrated by it.
Well, it feels bad. I mean, there's a couple decks roaming around Hearthstone at large, wild and standard, that just are not fun to lose against, ever. And when, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the way they win is...
Into Frost Nova.
Yeah. The way Freeze Mage used to feel back in the day when they just lock you down and you don't get to do anything. You don't get to play anymore.
That's actually happened to me now, though. Because of that turtle you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They can play Frost Nova 2 more times.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
If it's still in your deck. Because it'll cast... What is it? You discover a spell in your deck and then she casts it with random targets?
Mm-hmm. I kind of wonder sometimes if, let's see, what else is missing here? Sorcerer's Apprentice. I kind of sometimes wonder if Sorcerer's Apprentice doesn't get nerfed or put back into the classic set. I mean, as in Hall of Fame, because
or her text
I played a game
to can't make a spell lower than 1.
Well, I played a game in Wild yesterday where I had like 20 something health, and I had a full board. And between Flamewaker, Cyclone, Mana Cyclone, and Sorcerers, they killed me in a turn. It was like watching Solitaire over and over. And I was like, and I thought to myself, how can this person be this lucky? Because they got all these frost bolts, rays of frost. It was just because, and it was all because the combination of Flamewaker plus Sorcerer's Apprentice plus being able to get Mana Cyclones out and just refill their hand. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, burst me down and clear my board in a turn. And I had over 20 health. That's absurd.
It's being able to look at your health total and not be able to go, I'll survive for another turn because there's nothing they can possibly have to kill me at this point. Like
That's
with almost every other class, you can mentally go through all the ways they have lethal. If they have Leroy in their deck, if they have, double Savage Roar, and you can mathematically go, okay, I'm probably safe till next turn. But with Mage, that's just, I go, well, I'm at 30 health, so let's just see if I survive for one more turn.
Yep.
I hear ya.
Oh, well. It is what it is. All right. So next recipe is what? Priest?
Activate the obelisk. which is restore 15 health and reward Obelisk's Eye, which is the give a minion +3/+3 or heal it for 3, I think. Or both, actually. You can heal it and also give it 3/+3.
Well, yeah, it's both, yeah.
High Priest Ahmet, which I haven't actually talked about the cards that I opened in my packs. Did you do that last episode?
You know,
How
I
lucky
didn't.
you was?
I really didn't. I don't even remember what I opened. I was
come
not
on,
lucky.
you didn't count how many legendaries you got like per packs?
I did, but I was pretty angry because I opened 160 packs and I didn't open. I was getting like past 30 packs between legendaries, and I was kind of mad.
You can't though. 30 is the cutoff.
No, 40 is the cutoff.
I was really sure 30 is the cutoff.
Well, then they would have changed it from 40 to 30 because it's not what it felt like. It felt like it was for me. It was kind of meh. So I was like, fine, I'm just gonna play whatever I want. I'll just dust all these cards that I don't care about. Like I dusted my Golden Buon Samdi because I've never played with him one time.
Right.
Like not even once. And I was like, this is just collecting dust, no pun intended. In my collection.
Collecting dust when it could be making me dust.
So this obelisk deck. Let's talk right here.
It has High Priest Ahmed in it, which I opened. And I was looking at it going, is this going to be any good? And then I saw a priest play it against me, and I was like, yep, it's good. Whenever you summon a minion, set its health equal to this minion's. The first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, this is going to be like the combo, the double the health and make the attack equal to the health is going to make it like 1,000,000 times easier for them to get multiple minions that are going to be that threat sitting on the board every single turn. This is horrifying. This is scary.
Right.
So yeah, that was crazy. And then what's the one that like heals every time it dies and it has Reborn? Is that not in here? How can it not be in here?
It's the one. It's the one in that mage deck we just talked about. I believe it was.
Yeah, that should be in here, guys. Kartut Defender.
Yeah.
Restore 3 health to your hero when it dies, and then it has Reborn, so that it does that twice.
Well, this deck is basically an Interfire Priest deck. It's what it is. It's just
Spirit Interfire. Yep.
It's Divine Spirit Interfire with just a few different cards subbed in. So, it's a tried and true archetype. Just uses new cards instead of old cards, and a lot of old cards, but it's trying to use new stuff.
It's got Injured Tolvir. I told you that was being good in a Healy taunt battle cry, deal 3 damage to his minion.
I noticed this. So think back. Did you ever watch Thundercats back in the day?
He looks like a Thundercat.
He looks like one of the henchmen of Mumraz, the wildcat looking one. Oh. He looks just like it. Even like the bands around his shoulders.
It's probably
look just like it.
To that then, I bet.
I'm saying it's a nod to Thundercats.
Nice.
Injured Tolvir, by the way, is actually a very good card for early game. And if you can summon it, even better. In Priest, I think he's a great card.
If he comes out, he does his battle cry. Oh, now I'm trying to remember whether it was before or after he gets the effect of High Priest Ahmed. I think that he gets his health set to 7 by High Priest Ahmed when he comes out.
Because it's a battle cry.
And then his battle cry hits and deals 3 damage to himself.
I thought battle cries took place first before onboard effect.
Yeah, but High Priest is whenever you summon a minion. And he's already out on the board. Okay, I'm going to look it up.
So is it battle cry first and then onboard effect? I can't remember. Chat, do you know? They'll know. They'll get to us in a second after they go and reference it. Well, while you're doing that, Eve, the other priest deck is called Day of the Dead. Priest Uldum deck recipe. Summon and heal huge taunt minions to take over the game. If they fall, resurrect them with the help of Catrina Muerte. So it's got 2 Forbidden Words, 2 Inner Fire, 2 Power Word Shield, 1 Divine Hymn, 2 Divine Spirit, 1 Shadow Word Pain, 2 Shadow Word Death, 2 Convincing Infiltrator, 2 Mass Hysteria, 1 Katrina Muerte, 2 Mass Resurrection, 1 Plague of Death, which is a good card, 2 Injured Tolvir, Archmage Vargoth, Mashog Announcer ×2, Witchwood Grizzly ×2, Ziliax ×1 damage, Stegatron ×1, and Batterhead. So it's basically a standard version of Big Priest. What Big Priest does with as much res as they can do, but an appropriate amount of res so that they can't res their dudes on turn 5 and any other turn in between turn 5 and 9.
I played this, and Batterhead is really good.
Yeah, Batterhead's real good. I like Batterhead. It's really good in Wild. I mean in Arena is what I'm trying to say.
Rush, after this attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can clear a board with it.
All of those like little Murlocs and the battle cries, and you just like kill them all. Even the Reborns, you can kill them too. And because Priest has like so much heal, you can just heal them up and continue doing that. And then hit face. If you've killed everything, you can also, I mean, it's only 3 damage, but you can increase that as well. Mm-hmm. It's good.
So, let's see. Moving on to Rogue. Rogue has this deck that's called Bizarre Burglary. Quietly acquire cards for quest completion, then construct creative circumstances to completely conquer competitors. Get
Sounds
the alliteration
like they're trying to
there.
do an alliteration.
Yeah, constructed creative circumstances. That kind of, it's the right word letter, but it doesn't sound right. Completely conquer competitors. So backstab twice, prep twice, Bizarre Burglary, which is the quest, 2 Clever Disguise, 2 Eviscerates, 2 Questing Explorers, which is sort of an unsung card, BT dubs. I didn't think it would be as good as it is. 2 Underbelly Fence, 2 Blink Fox, Edwin Van Cleef, 2 Evil Miscreants, 2 Fan of Knives, 2 SI7 Agents, 2 Hench Clan Burglar, 1 Spirit of the Shark, 2 Vendetta, 2 Bizarre Muggers, and 1 Test Screaming. Bizarre Muggers is a great card, by the way.
Well, here's the thing. Like, it only has 1, 2, 3, 4 of the new Oldham cards in it, which, I mean, I guess I shouldn't complain because we've already noticed that, like, a lot of the times you only need a couple cards from the new set in a deck. It's not like everything in it is from the new set. It's just, I do want to see the new cards. You want to play the new cards. So this one only has 4, but I have seen it on ladder before, and I think maybe more people are playing Whizbang than maybe we know, because it is a good way to get a lot of like new decks and new experiences.
Well, I think one of the things that Whizbang decks generally do right is they put in the cards that are actually good for the most part, kind of sprinkling in a few odd arrangements, but I think they're generally good. At first, I was hoping this was like a Reno deck. There's the kind of the thing that everybody's saying is you can take Zephyrus and you can Shadow Step him back in your hand and do other shenanigans like that with some Reno Rogue decks in Standard, and it's kind of neat. It's like that Arena Rogue
Mage.
deck.
But they used that Panda
Youthful Brewmaster.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. So I mean, this deck is super. I mean, how many? There's the Quest. There's Tess, Greymane, and Edwin Van Cleef. But if you were to sub any of those cards out, maybe. I mean, I don't know about. It seems like Tess is kind of important, especially if you're trying to get a bunch of random stuff happening. You know, it's sort of Casino Rogue is what I would actually title this. You know.
Replay every card from another class you've played this game. Targets chosen randomly. You got to remember what you've done.
Oh man, I had the most awful thing happen to me. I was playing this Reno Rogue deck. I heard Blister Guy playing it on his show, and I thought I want to play that. That sounds super fun. So I'm being super clever. I get Zephyrus. I'm hanging on by my teeth, and I'm just making this game go way longer than it needs to. Even though I probably should have died, right? So I get a Twisting Nether off Zephyrus. I cast it. So I cast Zephyrus again, and then the thing he offers me is what do I get? Oh, I get Jiraxis. I'm like, oh, sweet Jiraxis. I need the health so I can survive and clear minions. So I'm like, all right, and I rigged it up thinking I was gonna cast Tess and then Twisting Nether would come out. I forgot that when you're Jiraxis, Twisting Nether is a Warlock spell. Tess only casts spells from different classes. And so it was like, it did every single spell. And I'm like, and the Twisting Nether? And nothing happened. And I was just sitting there going,
Warlock now. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I'm a Warlock now. And I sat there and I was sitting there staring at the screen, thinking about it. I'm like, why did that not cast? And then it dawned on me, and I was like, no,
I
oh,
would
the
not have thought
humanity.
that, because to me, Draxus is like, what's Ragnaros,
Yeah,
right? Like he just
yeah,
replaces, but
yeah. Because Ragnaros doesn't have a class, but Jaraxxus does.
yeah, he's
So
a warlock card.
I kind of wish that he didn't have a class. You know what I mean? Because he's a card,
Yeah,
but in not hero portraits, I guess, have a class. But
yeah.
oh well. But it was still like, okay, all right, I learned a lesson here. This is going in the catalog of knowledge. But
Speaking
anyways,
of warlock, okay, what's theirs is Supreme Archaeology.
ick. That quest is bad.
I have seen it. Well, no, I'm trying to think if they actually beat me in the end. I've seen it do like crazy, interesting, fun things, but I don't think they actually beat me. The fun way to play it is what's that one that puts all of your cards back into your deck and then draws that many?
Oh, the
Plot twist.
Yeah, plot twist.
Shuffle your hand into your deck, draw that many cards. That's like a good way to work on getting the 20 cards, draw 20 cards, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does a lot really, really quickly.
Maybe, now that I think about it, I don't think it's great, but I think it's a little better than I might have initially said. Because there was things that it was I think I lost to it one time going, huh? How did I, it could have been that I was playing too long and was just not thinking, but who knows?
Duelmaster Dorian, Archvillain Reform, Solarium, Lord Godfrey, Fell Lord Beetrug, and Ziliax.
Yeah.
A lot of legendaries in there, and then Twisting Nether is the only epic. But the thing is, like, this will be still fun to play if you choose to go the Whizbang way. But they have a really good zoo deck out right now that is super competitive and fast and can beat the aggro decks out there. So if you love Warlock, that's probably the one you want to be playing. And I don't actually think it's that expensive, except for, is the Magic Carpet an epic card?
Magic Carpet's an epic card, but
yeah, you don't want to need two of those, but like,
Zoo has gotten good again. Zoo is
fast.
It's real fast. It's very good. I don't find it particularly exciting to play, because it's just, I mean, if you're a good Hearthstone player, like you understand trading and when to go face and value and positioning and stuff, you can wreck people. You can wreck fools with that deck. But
yeah.
But if you want something a little more Timmy-ish, Johnny-ish, you'll get tired of it real fast.
Well, here's the thing. Like, there are aggro players out there that just want to play the most aggro. And that one's the fastest one I know of so far. Like, it beats Shaman, the Quest Shaman, and it also beats Murloc Paladin, which are the other two. I've heard of an aggro warrior out there. I have not seen it yet, but I've heard whispers of an aggro warrior coming back. So I don't know how good that one is.
I in my attempt to try and find warrior decks that I actually enjoyed playing, I played it a little bit. It was a little bit esoteric.
You know what, Grant? Can I just ask you, what does esoteric mean?
It means understood by a few. Hard to understand.
Okay.
Like it's kind of like high level math. There's people that definitely get it.
Is actually like me not knowing the word.
Yeah. Yeah, esoteric, we always use that word in music school because we'd go to this concert of somebody banging rocks together or something like that and chirping like a bird, and that's music, right? And you would say, yeah, that concert was pretty esoteric. Because, there's the people in the audience going, oh, they're visionaries. This is so musical. That they're getting really overly excited.
And you're like, is it? Is it though?
You want to hear, audience, if you would like to hear music that is truly very esoteric, and musicians out there will probably throw rocks at me, but there's a piece of music written by a composer named George Crumb, well-known composer in the music world, and he wrote a piece called Ancient Voices of Children. Go listen to that. You'll know what I'm talking about. Have fun. So, I don't know where the children part comes in the music, but it does. That's what it's titled.
It makes me think of The Emperor's New Clothes.
Oh, you're an idiot if you don't see it. You're a fool if
Yeah.
you don't see the clothes.
Yeah. And then really, there's no clothes.
There's nothing there. Yeah, I mean, there's the thing is I'm getting on like music history lesson. We should be talking about Hearthstone, but as with many forms of art, sometimes you can get so into the crafting of something that the piece, the work you have, has no soul.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Um,
It's like
uh,
when we tell our listeners to find the fun in Hearthstone again.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
because if you're getting so like either worn out on the ladder or with the game, you go
Mhm.
back to the beginning and you go, why do you play Hearthstone? Why are you
Right.
here? Why do you want to have fun? What makes you happy? What is your fun? And go for that. Or take a break, one or the other. And that is me, this expansion. I have found the fun again.
Mm-hmm.
They are ticking all the boxes for me. I have even lost games that I've just been, that was super cool. Like,
Yeah,
I just
I've
want to
had
play
that
that deck
experience.
now.
Well, I told you about that mage deck, the singleton mage deck, and I was like, huh. I didn't think I was going to win that game. I didn't think I was going to lose that game. I thought I had that game wrapped up. It was good play. Plus, the deck was better than I thought. The paladin stuff was better than I thought. The shaman stuff was scary good. And you're right. That's exciting. And I think that I had that experience with you can get something boiled down to such a science and just so craft like, so calculated, so thought through that it stops being fun. Like I told you, I play a lot of Settlers of Catan, and my wife bought me the Seafarers like addition to it, so now you can like go to islands and stuff. And it renewed the fun because I was sitting there trying to do probability problems in my head on the regular board, and then I would win. I went on like I went on like a huge tear of wins. I just was winning all the time, and I got to the point where I wasn't happy if I won. I wasn't happy if I lost, but I wasn't happy if I won. And I was like, what is this? What am I playing this game for? You know what I mean? When I realized part of it is I'm sitting there and I'm so analytical and I'm so like driven by statistics and probability of the dice rolls and what could have happened, what should have happened, why didn't it happen, and so into the craft of trying to master this game. It stopped being fun. You know what I mean? The fun part was just hanging out with friends while we played it, but the game itself was not fun. The game was just a means to an end. But then my wife got the new edition, or one of the expansions, and I was like, oh, this is fun because it's new things to mess with and new ideas, ways to think about it. And I think that Hearthstone has definitely achieved that with this particular expansion. And we've actually kind of had it 2 expansions in a row if you think about it.
I think that a lot of the decks too change every time you play them, which for me was always a big key to me loving a deck and wanting to play it multiple times. It's not just you play this, then you play that, then you play this. There's like a bunch of different ways to win in each of these decks. It's not just complete the quest and then you've won. Then it's like, well, what do you do with your hero power now? What do you target it with? How do you use the minions? Which ones are you going to put down? Which ones are you going to try and utilize? Like, especially with the paladin, it's like, well, which one do I copy? Do I right now want to copy a bunch of taunts and just kind of save myself? Do I want to copy something that has lifesteal and try and get my life back up? Do I just want to copy something that's going to like give me a bunch of strong bodies and go face and win the game? There's just so much different decision making with that. And with the shaman decks, like there are some that are a little more make a whole bunch of things and go face. But there are quite a few that every single turn is like, there's a lot of decisions and a lot of strategy, and there's multiple ways that you can go that makes every time you play a little bit different.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So, well, Eve, we are at an hour, a little over an hour.
Don't tell them,
so
they don't know.
You don't know. So we probably should wrap it up. But if you want to come and find anything Velen's Chosen, you can head on over to velenschosen.com with all the links to all the relevant things. Join the Discord, chat with us, we're putting a lot of our deck lists in the in there now. I've been dumping some periodically in some wild decks too. You can talk about what you like, what you dislike about the game. If you need help with anything, we're always there to help. If you would like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Felons Chosen Podcast. We'd be glad of anything you want to give us. If you don't want to support the show or can't support the show monetarily, then leave us a review on iTunes. We would read it on the show and be very grateful that you did that. Helps us get up there in the search queue for when people want to look up the word Hearthstone. Special thanks to Jamie S. for his continued support. Definitely want to get Jamie back on the show. So, Jamie, I'm going to be contacting you soon about when we can have you back on the show, because I am a particular fan on how Jamie's mind works with the theory crafting and the new toys to play with. So, Eve, if people want to get in touch with you or find you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at LoreMasterEve. I'm going to try and be a bit more active in Discord as well. I've been thinking about streaming Hearthstone. I've been thinking about I'll probably use the Velen's. Well, I also have my own channel, LoreMasterEve as well, but I might just use the Velen's Chosen Podcast and stream it because I've been having so much fun. Like, I just want to play it, and I kind of want to share that with other people. Like, when you have this joy, you just want to share it with other people. But yeah, for those people who have been asking us, like, budget decks, if you really are strapped for cash for cards for dust, craft Whizbang. Play his decks. And if you have a friend who wants to get into the game and is worried that they're not going to be able to play all these fun new decks, be like, I've got the card for you. It comes with 18 decks. So that's like a really good way. I really want them to either make Whizbang Classic and just always be around and always have, like, be this function in the game. I think would be really smart of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Because just being able to say to my husband, you might not know what deck you're going to get next, but this is a really crash course way to learn how to play Hearthstone. Rather than going in and going, I'm going to make my own deck from what I have, and I don't even know what's good.
Right.
And maybe having to sink hundreds of dollars into the game. Like, I think Whizbang is a really good way to introduce new players into the game. And for yourself, if you just want to try a whole bunch of decks and you don't know what's good yet, and you don't know what to craft yet, and you don't know what you like, even if you have a bunch of dust and cards, you can try all of these different ones and be like, you know what, that one feels really good to me, and I think I can tweak a bunch of cards in it and make my own deck out of it.
It's sort of the safe way to test things without wasting your resources if you're one of those miserly people. You know what I mean?
And if you're like Grant and you have a golden Whizbang.
Yes. I will share it with you if you want to play. I will share any of my decks. And oh, by the way, listeners, if you ever play me in a game, you do not have to ask to borrow my decks. You can borrow them. Like, feel free. Use any of them that you want.
Use this golden Whizbang.
Use the golden Whizbang. That's pretty cool. Golden.
It makes all your cards golden, people. Why would you not do that?
The shinies are all there. All right. If you want to find me, head on over to Twitter at WatchmanHS. Interact, ask me questions. I'll help you any way I can. I think that's it. I got a new job, so I've been really busy learning the ins and outs of a new school. But love and life.
We'll make it work. We'll be here every week as much as we can.
Yep. Yeah. We might try a couple different / new things, but that's yet to be determined. But we'll still be here. Eve, sign us off.
Not all who wander are lost. Bye, everybody.
I foresaw this.
Did I miss it?